that sank more than any of them. This was our old greenhouse plastic. This was the shade cloth layer of greenhouse plastic. It turned out I didn't like to have it shaded. I had a lot of things that weren't growing well in the greenhouse when we had a shade cloth. So this was 5 or 6 years old before I put it in here. It's really tough, but you can see we've got a lot of strawberries in here. We had onions, we've already harvested. All right, we've got all the 2x8s and 6s and everything in. And, okay, be careful not to kill any trees because it's sharp. We're gonna put the tin in. This is from a salvaged calf shed from my father-in-law's, so we're gonna go ahead and put it in. It goes on the inside, which is why it doesn't matter that some of this might be pressure treated. Okay, you cannot turn, so get down and figure out where would you need to be standing in order to be able to get this in. My purpose in here is to show you the steam. Hopefully, I'll try and hold really still so you can see it. So that's just the hotbed with PVC hoops.
That we're doing another one over here.
Yep. This is the hotbed with cow panels over the top, and it's going to be a greenhouse with hotbeds. So what Kai is doing is she's putting strips of fabric along the edges of the hoop. The reason for that is that sharp metal, when you have plastic buffeting against sharp metal, it's gonna, it doesn't matter how nice your plastic is, it's going to rip your plastic. These are the nubs that if plastic rubbed against it too much, it would puncture the plastic. So this is where she's sewing fabric over the nubs. So that's what she's doing.
This is the third time we've used this fabric.
It is the third time we've used this fabric. It's just an old sheet. So these are old irrigation tubes I got from my dad 15 years ago. Can't be used for irrigation because they got brittle, but they work really good as reinforcement. These are to hold up the frost cloth when we put it on. The bed's gonna sink, and instead of buying hoops, I've got all this lathe. So the other purpose that this has is to hold the bed together a little better at the top. I'm just trying to reinforce everything so that this moving in the wind with the plastic is not too hard on my old secondhand lumber that I put together 8 years ago. How many years ago was this?
And then we can also put rabbit cages on it.
We needed some cross bracing, so I used old 2x4s. I drilled holes in the ends. About 6 holes were best. And then I used old wire through the holes and then around the cow panel to secure my cross bracing for plastic instability. Alright, so this is what I use, and I just have it in the spacing in the pallet. just as cheap to get good greenhouse plastic as it is to get painter's plastic or something crappy. So what I'm doing is I'm anchoring the plastic with lathe. And the fact that the lathe is long will keep it pressed tight enough that it won't tear in a high wind. I have more good plastic, but I don't want to cut it without being sure of what I'm doing. So I'm just going to put up some plastic that came on a mattress to make sure that I am securing this end so that it's not breaking in the wind. Well, I just stapled my gloves inside accidentally, and all I'm trying to do with this, I'm trying to keep the plastic from blowing away in the wind until I can figure out the doors. All right, that's what it looks like.
Good morning, guys. It is in the mid-30s, I think, about right now, so we are a little bit above freezing. And Kitty, you're so helpful. I've got a cat rubbing against the bottom of the tripod. Today I'd really like to figure out how to get this door cobbled together. I've got I've got different depths here to work with my lumber, and I'm not exactly sure how to formulate it in my brain so that it makes sense, and so that it holds up against wind. But the other thing is that the 2x4 that I put along the top to stabilize the cow panel is not even. it's a little wonky like that. So it's not beautiful. It works, but it's not beautiful. Kai was helping me with it, and I was just starting to get sick and my brain wasn't working well. I'm not going to take it apart now because I've got the plastic on now, and moving all that wire around next to the plastic would be a bad idea. So I don't remember if I mentioned this when I was making it before, but the opening is like this big. The actual walking path is this big. I had to bring the two hotbeds very close together in order to make it feasible that we could get the cow panels over and have the arch be tall enough that it would shed snow in the winter. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this old nasty mattress plastic and I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to put it here, and that way I know that I've got the pallets on these sides covered so we don't have air flowing up into the greenhouse.
You should see them, they look like they're trying to eat fish.
I know, they're so fun.
They're like, life is good. They let us out of the cage.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out a door here, and for now I have like some chicken wire across the front of the door. The big reason is I don't want my kittens to get in the greenhouse and I don't know they're in there, and then they die because maybe it's 4 days before I come out and check on it next. It's winter gardening. I really don't want the cats getting in there, so that's why I'm putting up a little fence. Alright, so I use these. They are plumber's tape, and I use them as a hinge.
I just took out the hook thing.
So I'm going to use these hooks to hold the cat door part on. There's going to be another layer of plastic on top. I haven't seen them really trying to get in it unless we're out here. Have you?
I don't think so, but I don't spend a lot of time in the backyard.
Hi, Katie. I think this one's hungry.
Okay.
Why don't we go get it some food?
Okay, where do you want me to put the screws?
Just put it down there.
It's right here. Okay.
Here, come hold this out of the way for a minute so I'm not
Feeling it?
Yeah, or not being effective. Okay, so now what I want to do is take a PVC pipe and put it at the top and have it on a swivel so that I can lay plastic over the top of it, but then I can lift the PVC up and create a doorway. I'm going to drill a hole in one end of the PVC and then put wire through it so that I can put the wire through the top of the greenhouse, something for it to swivel on.
Sounds good. Got
See?
these two hooks right here.
There's a hole. That hook is where I hook the PVC. It actually creates an arch if I'm going to be in and out a lot of times.
Should I put up the rake?
Huh?
Should I put up the rake?
Now I'm going to take the door off, put the plastic on the way I want it, and then put the door back on. So this is how a hog ring works. It squeezes it like a wrench and it closes this down. These are actually meant to go in, like, let's see if I can show you, in the nose of a cow or a pig. It's to keep them from rooting. I've never used it for that. I've always used it for this kind of thing. See, there's the hog rings. Put the plastic on. This is how the plumber's tape works. It bends its own self over whatever metal thing you're using it as a hinge for. Okay, so there's double layer. There's the flat layer and then there's the actual door layer. And then there's the hook. And then down here, there's that hook. And then I have the second layer. Okay, this is our maiden voyage. The door works great. Having that many layers of plastic greatly increased the temperature in here. Very helpful. What we've done today is we have, probably can't see it, but we have bird netting up. We're going to move the quail into this side of the greenhouse so that we can move the rabbits into the big greenhouse, and then we're going to plant in this bed that you're on right now. And that is the plan right now. And Paige and Kai are going to go out and get a few quail at a time and bring them in. So that's kind of what I'm going to try and show. The problem in here is going to be it's very tight quarters. I have probably about 14 inches, a 14-inch walkway, which is very, for my feminine hips,
I'm really struggling to walk in here. So we've got this. I don't know if you can actually see it. How well can you see it? Anywhere that I have a little hole, I'm just going to take a soft twist tie and just kind of bunch it a little bit and twist tie it. Can you see the twist tie? So maybe now you can see the bird netting. So we're not going to overthink the bird netting. The cats can't get in here unless we let them in, so we're going to be careful about that. It's really nice and warm in here. The quail can be on this side. I'm going to put a blanket over most of the lathe slats because quail like to be in a dark, safe spot. If they were in nature, they'd be under bushes all the time. They would not be out in the open. So we're going to have food on this side and then this blanket on the rest of the lathe. I'll try and show you how I'm going to do it. And that will greatly calm the quail. I did the same thing in here as I did on other. This side is nothing is permanently attached unless it's in a spot that like things don't have to move. So once again, I used screws just to hang the bird netting on. And then the reason I'm going to use a white blanket is because I do still want the quail to have some sunlight. It's good for them to have sunlight. So there's sunlight through the blanket. With the quail, you do want to make sure that you have all the little holes plugged, because if they fly up and out, they won't be able to get back out. So we had to plug everything.
Hang on. That one just doesn't want to come out.
All right, there we go. They're moving around now. We'll see how long it takes them to just go on under. And then what we'll do is we'll keep their food on this side. All right. And they're there. Those are the holes we had to fill with something in the pallets, because if they fell in them, they don't move around that much as far as like crawling into things. But they do fall into things if they start to fly. Oh, you're acting like you're cold. So we'll get them some food and water in here. That one's shivering. Most likely just because it's scared. Not because there's anything wrong with it, because they did have food earlier. They've already been fed this morning. But having the door open, it is definitely colder in here than it would be if the door wasn't open. So as soon as we can get that remedied, the better. All right, they're done. I've got their water. They've got their water, their wet food, and their sand, and their little cover. We'll see how they do. They'll do better once I close the door. So that's... Sorry guys, that's what it looks like. So this will be the planting side. Good morning guys, this is the hotbed. When I come in here, it's a few degrees warmer than it is outside, but not by much. And the reason for that isn't the greenhouse. The greenhouse isn't what's creating this couple degrees of difference in temperature from the outside. If the sun isn't up, there's no heat being generated in the greenhouse. It can hold in heat that comes in from sunlight, if that makes sense. What's actually causing the difference in temperature is the hotbed. The hotbed is going to be blood temperature in the hotbed. So what you see is you see figs You see sweet potatoes that are not stressed. You see pepper plants, and the reason you see that is because the hotbed is warm. It gives off just enough heat to keep everything in here from freezing, because our nights are in the 30s. Very well settled in the 30s. We've already had frosts, solidly freezing nights at 32. The tomatoes, the zucchini, the green beans are all gone this time of year. And yet you see the inside the greenhouse, the unheated greenhouse, the hotbed kept all of our subtropical type plants happy. These are not special sweet potatoes that were meant to be grown in Idaho in a zone 4. These are normal Georgia sweet potatoes. I think the one I got was Gem, and what was the other one? Gem is one of them, but I don't remember what the other one was. And I just took a couple of sweet potatoes from the grocery store, started them as slips in my window in I think February. I planted them in March, and voila.